when your father passes away, there's no more opportunity to have conversations about the way that you grow up, things that you maybe didn't understand about him and he didn't understand about you. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but communication is kind of the way in which you learn more and develop your relationship. So without that, it was a lot of self-reflecting. It was a lot of self-discovery. It was asking myself painfully hard questions about the things that I didn't necessarily like about myself that were coming up through the loss of somebody and through a hard event, thinking I needed the validation from relationships, authority figure, these are all things that were exposed to me via that event. And through that exposure and going down and really just trying to be truthful with myself and the things that I needed to address, it led me to some really interesting places.
Welcome back to the Listening Bea. Today's guest is Jack Pennebaker, and this episode is a powerful reminder that grief can crack you right open and somehow become the doorway to your truest self. So from losing his father to surviving a divorce and fasting alone for 3 days on a mountaintop, Jack shares what it really means to let go of old patterns, walk through pain, and come out free. So this is one of our most vulnerable, valuable, and wise grounding conversations that we've ever had. So let's dive right in. From all of these experiences that you've had in your life, which experience taught you the most about how you want to live your life?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think it's a culmination of all of the events that have led up to now. I would say the start of that journey was definitely the passing of my father. I was a junior in college, and I went to the University of Oklahoma. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, originally. I got a call from my sister, just a random, I can't remember the day of the week, but it was just a random call from my sister, and frantically she had said that my father had a heart attack and I need to get down there as soon as possible. So, hop in the car, drove down there, and, discovered at the hospital that he had been, he had passed away for, a couple hours ago. So that was the moment as a young, I would still say I was a boy at that point where you kind of are thrusted into a situation where you have to mature and you have to think about the things that maybe typically when you're a young adult in college, you don't really have to think about how do I support my mother and two sisters, maybe not financially, but emotionally. As a young man, my father was was my hero, and he was just the beacon of right and wrong, the moral judge. He was a larger than life personality. He was an entrepreneur. He was a self-made man. I admired him, and so I kind of had to make a decision of where do I go? It was not even make a decision. It was kind of that it hits you in the face of this person has been the person that has guided you, but it's your life. It's your autonomy. It's your life. So that's when I started really evaluating my life, who I was, the things that shaped me. When your father passes away, there's no more opportunity to have conversations about the way that you grow up, things that you maybe didn't understand about him and he didn't understand about you. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but communication is kind of the way in which you learn more and develop your relationship. So without that, it was a lot of self-reflecting. It was a lot of self-discovery. It was asking myself painfully hard questions about the things that I didn't necessarily like about myself that were coming up through the loss of somebody and through a hard event. Avoiding conflict, not talking to myself very kindly, not believing in myself, or thinking I needed the validation from relationships, authority figure. These are all things that were exposed to me via that event, and through that exposure and going down and really just trying to be truthful with myself and the things that I needed to address. Uh, it led me to uh, some really interesting places. So right after my father had passed away, I had a buddy in college who lived with me, and his mother, Stephanie, she and what a coincidence! I just was the officiant at Zach. So Zach was my friend. Stephanie is his mother at Zach's wedding this weekend. And so this is a great full circle moment. Stephanie left me a voicemail and goes, Jack, I know you're going through a tough time, but there's there's something called a vision quest that I went on, and I think it would be really helpful for you to go on. And that was right after my father passed away. I was listening to old voicemails 5 years later, and I heard hers again. And I finally felt like it was time. I had grown enough. I'd done enough things to where I think I was interested in trying and seeing what that could do for me as an individual. Um, and so, called up Stephanie. We had dinner. She told me about it. And I decided that summer that I would do that. And what a vision quest is, there's no drugs or anything like that. Sometimes they may associate it with like peyote or something like that. But what it was a trip to South Colorado, and you have people who have gone through a vision quest previously, kind of mentoring you, getting you intentional for a month about what you want to do when you have that silence and when you have that alone time on the mountain. So you're gaining all this energy, you're gathering this energy, you're gathering this intention, and then you go into the experience, you go into this new environment with a group of people who are intentional the same. And you have these shared councils. The shared councils are just an opportunity for you to be authentic, uh, discuss what's going on in your life, understand that men and women both are either struggling, they're going through something that you're putting as much time and attention to your own as they are in theirs. So you're grounding yourself in the community of it, preparing for it, and you go up to a mountain. You have a tarp and you have water. There's some safety measures that are taken so they know that you're okay for that extended time. But you are typically in you stay in a 10-yard radius and fast and are alone for 3 days. And that is, and I can't put into words truthfully how many things I experienced through that, but maybe later I could try some more specific things. But ultimately, the outcome of that was uh, a voice that I hear in my head, and now that I know was the voice of God. You can say, I don't get wrapped up in what you call your creator or anything like that, but the phrase, trust me and I'll show you. that was what I took, and I really just took this sense of autonomy and healing and letting go of a lot of the things that I had discovered. But there's this moment where you kind of really actually let it go, and that for me was that moment spiritually, emotionally, and it really ushered in a confidence to move forward in my life, and uh, that changed things, right? That changed who I was. Not inherently, I still feel like I am me, but a lot of the things, the habits, the thoughts, the habitual patterns, I was able to let those go. And I stepped into a new way of being and living. And, we are supposed to change. We are supposed to grow. We are supposed to evolve. And through that, I think that was a lot for my wife at the time. I think my partner, I came back. A lot of the things the traumas that I held, I had let go still, and I was just kind of walking in a different way. And I think, I just think that was scary.
Hmm.
I think that was unfamiliar. And I think there was a disconnect in how we communicated about that. And so ultimately that led to a divorce with my partner that I was together for 10 years and married for 3. And so that happened probably about a year and a half, 2 years later. Um, so that event and going through that event was one of the toughest things that I've ever been through, akin to losing my father. But I promise you, when we do the things that are authentic to ourselves, we really try to go and dig down for the truth. We try to be authentic to our calling. We're not afraid to try. We're vulnerable. Yes, there are going to be things that happen that are really tough, but you really, truly will never regret being true to who you are. And then things get illuminated through that process and through that refinement. So that was a long-winded story. I wanted to give a little bit of background and context, and we could talk about any of those individual parts. But those are all portions of a story that led me to where I am now, and in a place where I feel like I'm operating in some of my best and most authentic um, being. And I'm grateful for those trials and tribulations.
Wow, thank you for sharing that entire story. And I can only imagine how difficult and kind of confusing it must be to have like these 3 days where you're alone and you feel like you can trust, God, the universe, whatever you call it, and you come back and the love of your life, there's like a disconnect there. And then you get pulled away. So that feels like super difficult to heal and then someone be ripped apart again. Um, and then also with your dad, talking about how they're not going to be here forever. You only have a limited time to talk and have conversations with someone. Um, I wanted to ask how all of these experiences, how now you, based off of them, you relate to time, the time that you have left in your life.
Mm. Yeah, intuitive observations and a good question there. Yet everything is precious, uh, but it's an interesting, delicate balance of trusting where you are and how things have unfolded for you, to know and be deeply rooted in the fact that you are where you are supposed to be. Uh, Not trying to rush out of it, but take everything in uh, now, because it is for you. It is your reality. It is the now. And that's where we have relationship. That's where we have communion with God, with other people. If you're thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future, you can't be fully present with someone. This conversation wouldn't be as uh, intentional and focused, and we couldn't get the most out of each other, just like your observation, if you weren't locked in. And if I was thinking about what I have next, it's just not where life's supposed to be lived. So it's this faith that you're supposed to be where you are so you can operate in the now, but also have faith and know that you have the autonomy to build something, to grow in a way, and to embody who you are and who you're trying to be. I have this, you could use an entrepreneur. You're saying you're young, but you're saying, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I have this feeling, I have this gut feeling. This is what I want to try. We don't know what the outcome is, but every day that you devote towards trying, having these conversations, you're either affirming who you're really supposed to be, or you're coming to the conclusion that maybe that's not. And both of those are completely okay, because you'll never regret doing what it takes to try and follow what that authentic voice is telling you to do. The outcome may not be, but you took those steps to follow what God, yourself, and that relationship is telling you to pursue. So time is extremely valuable, but also a lot of things are out of your control. So when we use our time so much to try to control all of these variables and like force an outcome, it's not the best use of our time. It's not the best use of our energy. So it's discerning between, these are the things that I cannot change. These are the things that I can, and I just want the wisdom to know how to proceed and what to do. And so, but when it comes to people, always tell them you love them every day. There can never be a shortage. There can never be enough. Sorry, there can never be enough telling someone you love them, or uh, cheering somebody on, or giving your energy to somebody else in a positive, encouraging way. Uh, so I just, every day that you can fill up your cup enough to give it to somebody else, I think that's a winning day. And there's just, you just never know. So every day, what do you know? I get today, I get right now. And would I regret living my day like today, like this, pursuing a goal that I feel passionate about, or helping someone in need, or heck, reading this book, like consuming this thing that I want to learn about. Maybe I might regret scrolling for 4 hours, but there's some things I see on the internet that make me profoundly happy and give me a lot of hope, or they're sombering reminders that my time is valuable. So um, I would just say that time is precious, but it's something that you'll understand more over time. The most effective way to use it is not always trying to control it and optimize it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's beautiful and so deep how you talked about like the uncertainty that we're faced with in life, and you had to face a lot of it, but in that uncertainty and in that change that happened in your life, everything worked out for the best, and you found yourself and what you really want to do and what you don't regret doing every single day. and how giving love to people is rewarding back too. And you can never give enough love. Unconditional love is rewarding to others as it is to yourself. So my next question is like about your energy and how you direct it in a way that you embrace the uncertainty that you face, because it seems like you really have a good hold on how you embrace uncertain situations in your life. When a lot of people like me and other people my age or a little bit older, we are faced with a lot of anxiety and stress when uncertain situations come. So what is your advice when it comes to that?
Well, let me ask you. I mean, I don't know what it's like to grow up right now, in this era with this amount of information, this constant stimulation. I do feel like your generation and your peers, uh, a lot of you had to make the choice to be very intentional about like realizing that and wanting to like set yourself up for success. So I am curious, like some of the feelings that you feel, some of the way that you look at the world right now. And at 16, I was not starting podcasts, and I was not very aware or of like what my purpose might be. um so I think there's kind of some pros and cons to like it kind of forced y'all to look at things in a different way, and y'all have some of the individuals I've met who are your age are extremely mature, and some maybe less so. But I am curious before I answer. So how do you deal with that? How do you, as at you're 16, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, how at 16 are you dealing with those things and managing your time and stress in a world where like everything is so plugged in, and but you have a lot of access to information and knowledge.
Yes, I love that question. I'm gonna start by answering with like what I see the big problem is. And
Mhm.
it kind of ties into exactly what you have been saying is we have so much information and we're so used to being fed information every single second of our day. So if we're on our phones, then we're on our phones and then we switch to eating, or we're doing both at the same time. But it's difficult for me and for people my age to just not do anything, because we feel, for me especially, I feel like if I'm not doing something productive or doing anything, then I'm wasting my time. But I think that the biggest thing that people miss and the biggest myth or mistake is that doing nothing, like when you fasted alone for 3 days, is actually what leads to the most growth and the most realization and happiness that you can cultivate in your life. Because we can gather all this information from books, which is a great thing to do. Getting knowledge is an amazing thing, but if we don't take the time to like separate ourselves from the world and the information we're in, then we're constantly going to be on go, go, go. And we don't give ourselves the time to reflect on everything that we learned. We're just shoving more food, more information down our throats, and we're not digesting it, if that makes sense. So, for me,
Mhm.
with my experience when it comes to stress and anxiety and having too much going on, is like it's really hard, but I'm learning how to take a step back and just be alone, journal for an hour, meditate for an hour. So, that's something that's been really difficult, but also really rewarding.
Mhm. It's I you've got a you made some keen observations about how technology has shaped the way in which we, or adolescents are growing up, and even adults are faced with the extra information intake that applies this pressure.
Mhm.
And I think the best thing that you said is that acknowledging that that pressure is not real. That pressure is usually self-inflicted by consuming,
Yep.
and that real life is actually lived in a state that is slower. You look at the natural frequencies of life, of how plants grow, or you know, you like erosion. All these things are just so much slower.
Yeah.
We were meant to just go at a little bit of a slower pace. So I don't think any of these things are inherently bad or wrong. This access to knowledge and even the innovation of technology that allows us to communicate more frequently, these are all beautiful things, but it's up to us as human beings to uh, whether it's develop the discipline or the frame of mind to know that that's not where my life is. My life is in my here and now. And so to that point, something that really grounds me is conversations in real life with people, being with people, eating with people, uh, knowing how to talk, ask questions, listen. Um, those are things that again ground you in the here and now. For me specifically, nothing can make me pay attention more than a good conversation, and just that connection that you get, that connection with the people, that connection with earth. You can't replicate it through your phone. It
No.
must come from the natural the natural world. So it's a delicate balance, and again, in general, I think there's so much maturity, intellectual maturity, in your generation. But what I would say is the emotional, spiritual, uh, everyday living has maybe been unfairly to y'all like warped.
Hmm.
And so the invitation is to just yeah, cliche, but just to live,
Yeah.
you know, and to practice living and seeing what living is outside of the world that is created in your phone, through social media, through the manufactured news, through all the content that you're being, um, essentially fed by these algorithms.
Right. I completely agree. And you like have this ability like I was even noticing this. I tend to talk fast because I'm trying to like get
Mm-hmm.
my information out, and so that's something I'm working on. But you have like a grounding presence, and you can talk slow. You're in the present moment. You're having a conversation, and listening, like you said, is one of the most important things because in order to listen, you need to be present. So that's also why conversations help each other connect because it forces you to be in the now and listen to each other. And it's difficult when we have our phones because if we're texting someone, we're, thinking about what we're saying, we're thinking about other things at the same time, maybe we're eating food also, and you're not fully in the present moment as if you're talking in person. So I think then my next question would be like, what is one example or tip or action that someone my age that has difficulty with this can take in forming their environment in a way that they are able to be in the present moment and get like energy from conversations when it's difficult to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the my biggest advice would be to pick up your phone, call call a friend, say, "Hey, can I would love to grab lunch and hear how you are. How does this day at this time work?"
Mm,
Boom. Like you set it up, you show intention, you be brave, you be vulnerable to get on the. You never know what someone could reject it. That's fine. It's okay. No is definitely a part of life. That is it is just as much a part of life as yes. So there it will always balance out. You'll be told no as much as you're told yes. So you just got to keep trying. But Be the initiator, be the social initiator for a group of friends or a certain one-on-one friend. Say I miss you, say that I'm thinking about you, I'd love to have some time to just be with you, eat food, everyone's happy when with a pizza or a cup of coffee, and look some be with somebody for an hour. Think about, is it and to me, I still fight this. I'm like, oh, I got to make all these calls, I got to do all these business things, I got to do all that productivity, blah blah blah. Again, we're just speeding up when some of the most important things that have happened in my career in sales or business, it's all stemmed from relationship. You can't form deep relationships without the time and the connection and the vulnerability. You saying, hey, I'm going through something. I'd love to talk. If you're willing to listen, I'd love to talk to you about it and hear what you say. Like that, you're opening yourself up for energy to flow between two people and for something memorable to last. And that's when, hey, I need a favor. No problem. Those are the foundations of the of relationship and true connection. And it's not like you can't have that, like you're at dinner and you're looking at your phone. There's still ways to do that, but I'm talking about if you want to optimize that, if you want to get better at that skill, you need to put yourself out there. You need to make plans in concrete, in real life, out in public, near other people, because we tend to self isolate. It's the energy amongst other people is palpable. Um, the energy that you're with when you're with somebody, or that you feel when you're with somebody, is, I don't know how to articulate it, but I know when I'm talking about it, you know what I'm talking about. You can feel it.
Yes.
It's an unspoken uh, field of whatever this life is. It's a core component, and the more and more you prioritize it, the more and more you cultivate environments where that can happen. Uh, the more and more things I think are going to continue to happen for you that are authentic and true, because relationships are mirrors. Um, Being in a relationship with someone, whether it's same sex, opposite sex, romantic, friendship, business, people are going to do things that make you go, oh, I don't like that you do that. And you get the opportunity to go, well, why don't I like that? Well, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Well, why? You're having a reaction. It's a fear reaction. It's an emotional reaction, maybe linked to something that has happened to you in your past. And it's no one's fault, but we're just trying to learn more so we can heal more and grow more and evolve. And human beings need each other to orient ourselves and as reflections of ourselves. And sometimes when people do things that hurt us, it's not usually about us, even though we love to be the center of our own universes and think that, oh, it must have been my fault. You don't know what somebody else is going through, or when they look at you, or when you do something that they wish that they could do, or anything like that. Things that are easy for you, someone else might struggle with. It just hurts. They want to do that. They want to achieve that, but they don't understand. And these are all important things about just going layers deeper, finding out a why before your reactions become concrete, and they become concrete when they become actions in the world, and when you do something to other people. Up until then, you can deal with hard things in a productive, constructive, and vulnerable way that you can allow those feelings to dissipate, and they have less of a visceral reaction in everyday life.
Yeah, wow. That was so valuable what you just shared, and I love that you explained all of this because like, I don't know the last time it was that I picked up the phone, called a friend, and asked to set a date and time to hang out. Like, sometimes you text through it, but it's for my generation, it's so awkward and we're not used to doing that. So, I love that you said that, and I hope that everyone that watches this video does that today or does that this week, because I know I'm gonna do that. That's an amazing, life changer tip. It's tiny, you can do it, and,
Mm,
it might be a little nerve-wracking because 'cause I'm not used to doing it, but it's gonna be extremely rewarding, and just like you said, there's, like, an equal amount of no's to the yeses you get, so even if you get a no from them or something doesn't work, that's okay because there's a yes coming in your future. So I love everything that you shared. Thank you so, so much for sharing your story and sharing what you learned, and the value and the wisdom that came from this was invaluable. So I'm really, really grateful for this. And now I
oh,
wanted to ask if you're ready
mhm.
for our past guests question.
Oh, absolutely. And just before we close up, thank you so much for being curious and embarking on your own journey and calling by having meaningful conversations. Your guests have been very interesting, accomplished. They've been through hard things, uh, and you're setting yourself up to learn some of these fundamental things maybe earlier than your peers. uh, you still have to put them into action and go experience them yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it's just awesome to interact with someone younger like yourself, and the energy and the intention and curiosity of wanting to learn is something that is um, contagious and awesome to be a part of. It people want to do that, so I encourage you just to continue to be vulnerable and ask people questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that compliment. That means a lot to me. And I'm so grateful that I get to do this and get to talk to you and these amazing people. So thank you.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Her question was, if your life was a movie, what would the audience be screaming at the screen, telling you to do right now, and why?
Mm. Oh, that's such a awesome question.
You know, right?
All right, so I think they're picking up, screaming. They're screaming at me. This is the moment. There's been a culmination of a lot of things in my relationships and my career as an entrepreneur, and these next 6 months are really important. Uh, there's you have time, but you don't, and it's just go, put in the effort, give it everything you've got, so there's no regrets. uh, Everything that I've said to you about reaching out to people, about not being afraid, about being vulnerable, working hard, being intentional, paying attention, being focused. These next 6 months are the time. So we look up, and there's a pivotal. There's two crossroads, and the audience is saying, you know what to do. Now go and do it.
Oh, I love it. And I'm in the audience cheering you on.
Well, heck yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you again for being on the podcast. I loved this conversation and I can't wait to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's on or off, please, if there's ever anything that I can and do or provide any value as far as conversations or anything of that nature,
Yeah.
you can hit me up or call me anytime.
Yeah, I really appreciate your guidance. Thank you.
Absolutely.